All right, now I have been mulling over how to do this because the top 5 authors just seems unfair with 2 people on this channel. Do we do separate videos? Do we just do it together? So ultimately I came up with the structure for this video to be called the top 5 authors we think are worth discussing. Our author that received the 5th highest number of votes would be Kurt Vonnegut Jr. Why do we love discussing him?
I think for me, because I'm such the optimist.
We're starting out with the lies. Okay.
Longtime fans will get that. I love his dystopian settings. I think that they are characters unto themselves. It's awesome to think, how does the good rise out of the ashes?
And it's worth pointing out, like, let's call it controversial where it is. I mean, as you get older, a lot of people tend to feel more distant from Kurt's writing, right? Because it is very juvenile. It is very flippant sometimes, the way that he makes fun of things. But to me, that's always been the charm.
It can be juvenile at times, but it's also very thought-provoking, and that it leads to good discussion, because somebody that maybe doesn't like it, that's okay, that's great. Then we can talk about it. Why didn't you like that? Why didn't it resonate with you? Why did it resonate with me? And what does that say about us? And that is, for what we've been doing on this channel, is just get people talking about literature, talking about books, opening up about their feelings.
Maybe there's 2 authors on this list that I think this is a pretty uncontroversial question, but where's the place to start?
I'm maybe going to say Player Piano, I think, is a great place to start. A lot of relatable characters, a lot of characters that you can easily hate. You know who I'm talking about. And I think that it's a good story as well. It's pretty quick paced. It's not very long. I've got to go with Player Piano, save Slaughterhouse 5 for a little bit later.
Okay, well, I agree with you that Kurt Vonnegut is on this list. I disagree with that. I'm going to say Slaughterhouse 5, no questions about it. Clearly one of the best books ever written. Why deny yourself any longer? Author number 4 on our list, none other than the famed Edgar Allan Poe, who you've loved before even bringing him onto this channel. Why do you love him?
Poe could be seen as gothic, right? I don't consider myself a gothic person, and maybe that's why I loved it so much, is that it's relatable to everybody. You can get something out of it. Maybe it's the wordplay. Maybe it was the only poems that I enjoyed because I struggled with poems when I was younger, but it was a poem that was a story that I could relate to, that I didn't have to worry about counting, whatever it is. I didn't have to worry about rhyming. I didn't have to worry about, haikus type stuff. It was approachable. And I think that's why I loved Poe.
He also understood that doubt that we had before psychology was even really a thing. He understood the madness that his characters and their struggle for who they are, and the dual identity with doppelgangers, and the madness that we can face as we struggle with ourselves is something that's, I think, highly relatable. So with that said, where's the place to start with him?
I think you start with the fall of the House of Usher, and then maybe move on to the more famous stories, The Raven, and some of the other ones that maybe you had visited in high school that you're able to revisit, or things that you'd heard about, that had influenced shows, TVs, comics, books, etc. And then last, I think you move into the poems, the proper poems.
I wonder if The Mask of the Red Death is a good overture of all of the themes that you get with the madness, the patterns, the doppelgangers, the idea of death and mortality coming for you. To me, I think it has the most amount of POTUS in its tapestry that he wove. Our author number 3 that we love discussing, or it's almost exclusively about right and wrong, and their fans love discussing what's right or wrong about how one reads this author. And that is number 3 is Fyodor Dostoevsky.
So why do we read him? I think he would be insulted if we answered this.
Yeah, there's too many reasons.
Arguably the greatest author to ever live. And I think he easily could have been number 1. I think you read him to understand people. We've kind of said that already. And that maybe that's a theme for all of these authors. They get they get people. They get the minds, heart, and souls of people. And they were able to infuse that into their writing. And then they were able to take something unique of their timeline, their life, their experience, their culture, their country, and they were able to meld all of that together into something that can be digested decades, hundreds of years later, that's still relevant. And I think that's what with Dostoevsky is, he's still relevant today in 2024. Whenever you're watching this, he will still be relevant. His books and works will still hold truths to wherever and whenever you are.
And what's strange about that relevancy to me is the way he kind of like dances that line where you have people that are staunch materialists that believe in nothing but what's in this world, and you have people that believe in a higher power, a higher being, that God and Jesus and the Bible are the truth, right? And he walks this line that speaks to all sides, right? There's something to be said about how he can pick events and almost pick apart how we can both relate to them and almost justify them in different ways. Obviously, he is a little bit more slanted towards the religious side, but it's never in a way that puts you off in the way that some of the previous authors that we just discussed could be with their writing. So I think that there's something to be said about his universality and his eternality have to do with the ability to relate to the struggle of knowledge and things like that. So where's the place to start? Unfortunately, I am doing my thing where I'm recommending what I started with, but I really do think that this is the place to start just because of the core ability for most readers to be able to latch onto something in Crime and Punishment has always been amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love my brothers Karamazov, but I think Crime and Punishment is really easy to grab any reader.
So we disagree again. I love it. Unlike the other recommendations that I've talked about, here you start with Brothers K. You start with his magnum opus, because I think that although regarded as his greatest works, it doesn't matter because all the other works are on par. It's not like you're going to go down to a worst work. Dostoevsky doesn't have bad novels.
Number 2, who has received the most amount of votes, Argentinian writer Jorge Luis Borges. What more can I say about this mind-boggling, complex, difficult, and profound author that hasn't already been said? He writes nothing but short stories. You won't find a novel in his oeuvre, but it is breathtaking and a crime and disservice if you have not read Jorge Luis Borges.
Patience, practice, and perseverance for Borges. You need to understand yourself, I think, before you're going to enjoy him.
With Borges more so than any other author, we might disagree and have different views of Dostoevsky and what different elements mean, but that's like kind of like a treat to discover those. It's a given with Borges is the vast differences that your life experiences and knowing yourself, bringing that to the table when you interpret Borges can lead to radical discussions, I think. Now, where are the places to start? I don't know if there's, like you said with Poe, I don't know if there's a bad place, but he's got a book called The Garden of Forking Paths from 1941 with
Damn you.
which opens up with Talon Ukbar, Orbis Tertius, Pierre Menard, Circular Ruins, Lottery in Babylon, Library of Babel, Garden of Forking Paths. It's a juggernaut that just take your time through it is all I have to say.
I hate you. You stole mine. But I did write something out, and I'm going to read it because. So this is how you get into Borges. First, you make a friend that is really smart, knows philosophy, literature, and is a pretty cool dude. Then, you secretly convince him to start a YouTube channel with you, and you ride his brain into the multiverse that is Borges. That's all you have to do.
Right. We're still looking for that person, so if you find him, let us know. Now, moving on to number 1. Come on, guys. This can't be a surprise.
Duh.
What author has dominated this channel for 5 straight years? One of the earliest stories that we did, and we went through every single one of this person's books except for one at this point, and that's none other than the Irish giant James Joyce.
He's the greatest author that we love discussing, and it's because he writes details. And you and I love details. We love subtlety. We love world building. We love people. We love character development. We love all the nitty gritty. And he does details better than any author that I can think of. In my opinion, obviously it's my humble opinion, but details matter. And he writes these characters that I can not only relate to, but I almost feel like they're a part of my life. You know, Stephen is part of my life. He's a friend when Una is not there.
Well, and now that we're reading Ulysses, we've even discussed how there's like a little bit of a difference of how I see the world and you see the world through Stephen, through Bloom, that, and going about it so slowly, we've actually had some people in our lives that we've lost, and we've just read that Hades chapter. What does death mean to us? There's a completeness, I think. Not that other authors haven't done it, but in terms of our diving into it, no one else on this channel has been able to bring us to the point of discussing almost in totality all of our life experiences the way that James Joyce has. And I think the best place to start, to kind of start saying, how do I start talking about all these different experiences? How do I understand it? I tried Ulysses, my head exploded. Maybe Ulysses is the right place to start for you. But for me, I think the place to start is Dubliners.
100%. And I guess that's what, again, about Joyce is that, is he my favorite author of all time? I don't know. Maybe. But he's my favorite author to talk about. He's my favorite author to record videos on, discuss with you, to read in certain regards. I love that he makes me think, he makes me feel, makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me relate to other people. And I wholeheartedly agree. You start with Dubliners. You can start anywhere in the book. You get yourself a copy. You can start at the beginning and read it all the way through. You can thumb through it, pick one in the middle, and go from there. You can read it back to front and then front to back again. That's the beauty of that collection of works. The greatest collection of short stories known to humans, period, in my opinion. And then you can go to Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, and then Ulysses, and then we'll get to Finnegan's Wake, which we're going to do eventually, right?
Oh, that's a big ask, my friend. I guess that's... I mean, Ulysses is destroying me right now, so I guess that's a question for the audience, whether they think we should get destroyed by Finnegan's Wake. Let us know, audience, what you think. Is this list complete trash and awful? Probably. This is what happens when you put two people together. Like, I'm guessing Kurt Vonnegut's on this list because we literally just recorded a story tonight, so he's on the top of our minds. There's just so much to read, so much to appreciate out there that I don't want you to see your author not represented on this list and be upset by it. But now, with that said, if there is an author out there that you feel should have been on this list that needs to be discussed more, let us know in the comments down below, and we'd love to check them out if we haven't already. Thank you for spending time with us today. My name has been Una. Peace.
Peace.